Having been a Wildlife Trust director for 12 years, I know very well that you're very important people in the struggle to save our poor little planet. And you've probably therefore seen that definition before, it was English nature originally, of the two prime factors driving, multiplying, making harder all your problems, our problems. And I bet, however, that if you've been talking about sustainability, you've probably focused on the consumption side a good deal and have rather steered clear of the population side, the other half of the equation, which is why I'm here. Here's what the UN say is the long-term future. By 2200, we will be somewhere between 3 and 21 billion people, depending on what we do about it in the meantime. It's a variable, not a given. And no-brainer, which is better for wildlife. Because it's a crowded old world already, with our mere 7 billion, and not simply in Bangladesh. London, too, is very much overcrowded, and so is England. It's the most overcrowded country in Europe, and we're at 300% ecologically overshot, according to this year's Blue Planet Award winners, the Global Footprint Network. And here's all the other curves going exponential. It's got GDP, population, water, McDonald's, and so on. We know the story. So what we've turned into, really, is a bunch of Pac-Men, reading very fast and charging through eagerly the stored natural capital of 5 billion years of planetary history. And the wildlife is particularly vulnerable, like that poor lonely rhino. So our world is increasingly coming to resemble this little island. And you can see there's not much room for wildlife there. And this is all so obvious that I ask myself, why don't environmentalists talk more about human numbers, the multiplier of everything else? And I think the answer is probably fear of, in a word, hysteria. A mad taboo was invented a mere 20 years ago and has stifled debate on this half of the environmental equation ever since. And we can see these effects on the planet from various causes, from consumption, CO2 emissions, waste and pollution, and human numbers. The deserts are spreading. There's not much soil, water, or wildlife there. The rivers are drying, the forests are going, we know the story. Fortunately, where wildlife does still survive, like the wildebeest migration in the Serengeti, it survives in good part because it's kept in balance with its habitat by its top predator, who has the great virtue, the lion, of stopping eating wildebeest when it's had enough, unlike the global top predator, which is us. So, tigers are likely to go extinct shortly. In 20 years' time in the wild, they can only be saved by being taken into captivity, by being rescued. And I thought you'd like to see this picture of a rescued tiger, what we do to tigers to save them. And here's a worrying chart. It's a guesstimate, not a calculation, but based on research. 1750, 12% of the world's tonnage of mammal flesh was us and our livestock. We're now 98%. Not good for wildlife. And of course, people like this poor kid don't help. I've seen a lot of them. So, here's the proof that our planet is physically finite, and it follows from the fact that it's finite that population growth will quite definitely stop at some point, because it must. But it can only stop in one or two ways, either sooner, by fewer births, the nice way, or later by more deaths, the Darwinian way. And it matters for all species, and notably ours, which it chooses to do, because it resembles more and more this one. We're overloaded already, 7 billion. Of course, we're over-consuming too. And about 1.5 billion people go to bed hungry every night already. So here's a slide I got from the last chief scientist, David King. Whatever your problem, wildlife, climate change, water, population growth makes it harder. And so, what I want you to do about it? Well, we are doing our best. We are just following up the dreadful Rio fiasco I attended and came back from very depressed. We've got a universities outreach program. We're forming local groups to give talks. We put out press releases. We commission research and so on. What I want you to do is simply to recognize that when David Attenborough says all problems get harder and ultimately impossible to solve with ever more people, he's our patron, by the way, you should say so loud and clear whenever you write an article or make a program or give a talk. And I want that to happen so that we can break that blasted taboo, which is doing immense damage to wildlife, to society, to all of us, and get it into a grown-up debate about the future of our planet, including the species living on it. So that programs to stop that population growth by voluntary, non-coercive means, of course, can be given the priority and the resources